You know who hasn't had a top 25 defense in college football ever?
Who's that?
Matt Patricia. Joe, the waves are circulating that obviously we just got done talking about Jim Knowles, but that Ohio State obviously looking for a defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia, the former Lions head coach, the former DC and OC, ironically, of the New England Patriots, his name has popped up here for their DC search. You better sell me on it because on the onset, I don't like it.
Like, they're bringing in a Super Bowl winning coach. Plain and simple. They're bringing in a coordinator that was a 3-time Super Bowl winning coordinator. He has been around and a part of championships. Championship pedigree is, for me, one of the most important things. We're not talking about him getting hired as Ohio State's head coach. We're talking about him getting hired as their defensive coordinator. For me, I always have like a little bit of pause when an offensive coordinator jumps levels because sometimes that stuff doesn't work. The pro game play calling is very different from the college game play calling. Running a damn good defense and being aggressive and downhill, that translates across the sport. And the way that I know that this translates across the sport, Michigan just hired this past year Wink Martindale. Wink Martindale, for the longest time, was one of the best defensive coordinators at multiple stops. The results that he produced this past year at Michigan with Mason Graham in and out of the lineup, with Will Johnson in and out of the lineup, with all of a bunch of other dudes, all of their linebackers, a bunch of their other corners gone to the NFL. The fact that Michigan was as good as they were this year was pretty nuts. I say this all to say that if your rival has produced results with Wink Martindale, it's not a direct reason to feel optimistic about this, but there are examples across the sport of bringing in NFL DCs and then producing results. Our thoughts on him are negatively impacted by him being a shit head coach with the Detroit Lions and him being a part of the end of the mess that happened with the Patriots. I think that Ohio State fans should feel pretty good about this.
You didn't tell me. Why can't you be sold? I don't know because I look, as a fellow Paisan, I want to come out here and root for the Italians, right? Like I want to root for the Italian success, like The Godfather, like the mafia, like spaghetti and pizza and lasagna, like I want to put that whole bit out here and go full Paisan. I can't do it. I can't do it because, listen, there have also been a lot of defensive coordinator hires and DC hires that could be made, a.k.a. Bill Belichick going to North Carolina. Why isn't Matt Patricia a part of that? Clearly, he didn't mind going to college. Why ain't he with Bill? Like, there are other NFL coordinator hires that need to be made.
Wait. To very quickly address that, his son was guaranteed to be his defensive coordinator. Like that was a no-brainer. Before that was even announced, everybody and their mother knew that Steve Belichick was going to be their DC.
That is fair.
Patricia is smart enough to know that not to waste his time taking a position coach job at the college level. Like,
Bill would make him a senior advisor to the head coach like he did in New England. Titles don't mean anything. Something feels off to this to me, man. I got to be real with you. I don't like it. There's a lot to replace. There's a lot going on, and I understand the game that he called in the NFL. It was not a bad one. You're right. He's the 3-time Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. There also comes a part where recruiting, I don't like it. Connection and fit, I don't like it. I just don't like it across the board for whatever reason. I had this gut feeling, and I can't come out here and explain it. We talked about this with DJ Durkin just a minute ago. There's something in my gut telling me, this ain't gonna work. This is not gonna work. I don't know if it's just like culture, Ohio State. I don't know if it's that he uses a pencil on a laminated paper that Ohio State fans will freak out over in 4 weeks when the defense is bad. I don't know if this is a hire that I expect Ohio State to make for their DC.
My timeline might be a little bit off, but if I remember this correctly, Matt Patricia leaves the Patriots to take the Lions job. And this requires, for college folks that don't really care about the NFL, this requires obviously a memory of what happened in the NFL. He leaves to take the Detroit Lions job in 2018. According to what I'm reading here, he was the last defensive play caller under Belichick with the Patriots. Patricia was probably, in my eyes, was the last great defensive coordinator under Belichick. And as soon as he left, it felt like that was when there was the eventual downturn. Now, Tom Brady leaving obviously is the biggest impact in the Patriots, falling apart the way that they did at the very end. But defensively, they were inconsistent. Gerard Mayo was a good DC, and he produced some good results. But it felt like when Matt Patricia was there was a different type of defense. I think that how good they were was so clear and visible for that stretch. And it was long enough ago that it's kind of hard for us to remember. The second run of Super Bowls that they had where they won those three, there was a gap between the first three and the last three, were off of the production of what that defense did. He is an elite defensive mind, and I understand where you're coming from, where it does feel off. And I would argue your feelings of it feeling off are based on the fact that our recent memory of him are attached to shitty situation with the Patriots where he's getting thrown all over the place to do a bunch of different things that he is not an expert in, and him being the head coach of the Lions and him being a bad head coach. Not everyone's meant to be a head coach. He's one of those dudes that's built to just be a really good defensive coordinator. He's like Vic Fangio. He's like Steve Spagnuolo. He's like Chip Kelly on the defensive side of the ball. Knowing we have enough, my whole thing here, here's my last point. Having as much of a sample size of premier success is why I think you should feel good about this. If he was just a good DC for a little bit, a part of a really good coaching staff, I'd understand if you had pause.
Well, I got pause on the situation, on the culture. And look, culture fit is not what I want to come out here and argue, right? Like, I'm not a culture fit guy. I think any guy can come in here and fit the culture. If you're winning, the culture is fine. If you're losing, the culture's shit. Okay. But Joe, I have not seen, well, the quarterback leaves, and of course the whole thing unravels in New England, right? He does. I see him in Detroit. I don't know, man. I just think that there's a lot that needs to be rebuilt and tooled at Ohio State coming off of this many guys leaving that I just don't like. I don't, because it's a difference defensively when you're having to develop and replace. Chip Kelly is a special breed. I don't remember a time where a DC came down from the NFL, and I know you talk about Wink Martindale. That one may work. I just don't know if Matt Patricia is a Wink Martindale type of dude. Like, I don't.
He's got more Super Bowls than Wink does.
No, sure. But that whole situation of them going 8-5 means what exactly? Like, I mean, we also saw moments where they weren't great. Like, I mean, there's a lot of there's a difference of Michigan falling after the whole Harbaugh thing and Ohio State falling. Joe, if Ohio State goes 8-5, then what? If they're not,
hold on. They're not going 8-5.
You're exactly right. There's no way that's going to happen. But that's why I'm trying to say there's a massive difference, which you disagree with. Yeah, there will be a massive difference. So a lot to replace. You're going to have to give him time. The only thing that I would say is you're going to have to give this one time. And I'm talking about like 3 years worth of time. This 1 year wanting to pull the plug on dudes, it's not going to work.
I don't disagree with that part. I think that there should generally be patience with, like, Jim Knowles was a good example. I mean, there were really bad games that they had against Michigan where they looked awful.
They just got physically abused. Let's call it what it is. They got physically abused. I mean, you run for 270-something yards, you got physically abused. I'm sorry.
But what I'm saying here, though, to what you're talking about, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. He needs to figure out how to communicate with 20-year-olds. I'm always – my final part with this
in
is
an NIL era.
Right. My final point with this is that the professionalization of the sport. And this is why I was a big advocate for his former boss, Bill Belichick, to work at UNC. More professional coaches getting into the sport is better for the sport, and they're going to have success because the sport's not what it was 5 years ago, where you're bringing in kids and you're expected to help them develop as young men. That is no longer the priority. It's these kids get paid, you win a national championship, and hopefully your fan base is happy. Bringing in guys that are pro guys that know how to manage those personalities, I think is now more important than ever. I trust that this will work, and frankly, I hope this is who they hire.
We'll see. I mean, look, as far as coordinator hires go, it's a late process. I get it. Brother, man, you're promoting from a guy that you demoted. And then you're going to get in Matt Patricia, where this is a 50-50 boom bust situation here.
I don't know. I wouldn't call it 50-50. I feel like that's a little negative to look at it like that.
Okay. Okay.
It's going to be a good. At the very, this is better than the damn Chris Ash hire. I'll leave it at that.
Well,
I would rather be in the running to bring in a guy that won 3 Super Bowls as a coordinator than one that, frankly, was not a very successful DC and was a really awful head coach. There is a higher chance that Chris Ash doesn't work compared to Matt Patricia.
Oh, for sure, because it's Notre Dame.
All right.